The story goes that a few years ago, a senior member of a fabulously wealthy Middle Eastern royal family was staying in his London penthouse overlooking Hyde Park. He decided he wanted to buy the entire building across the street, a beautiful white stuccoed Regency-era masterpiece. He called his team of high-powered lawyers and dealmakers, men accustomed to buying anything, anywhere, at any price. Before we dive in, we would appreciate your support. Liking this video and subscribing to our channel would be the best form of gratitude. Thank you. He told them, "Name a number. I want that building." A few hours later, his chief advisor returned, looking unusually hesitant. "Your Highness," he began, "there is a problem." The sheikh, unused to problems that money couldn't solve, leaned forward. "The building is not for sale," the advisor said. The sheikh scoffed. "Everything is for sale. Double the offer." The advisor shook his head slowly. "Sir, you don't understand. It's not about the price. The family that owns it, they don't sell." He then explained that not only did this one English family own the building in question, but they also owned the building next to it, the garden square behind it, the high-end retail street around the corner, and in fact, the entire neighborhood. All 300 acres of it, encompassing the two most expensive districts on the planet, Mayfair and Belgravia. The sheikh, a man who could buy private islands and gold-plated jets on a whim, was reportedly speechless. He was staring at a form of wealth so old, so vast, and so deeply embedded in the very fabric of the city that even his nation's sovereign wealth fund couldn't touch it. He was looking at the invisible empire of the Grosvenor family. But to truly comprehend why this one family's quiet, inherited power could leave a modern-day monarch in stunned silence, we first need to understand the battlefield on which they reign supreme. London is not just a city, it is a global vault for the world's wealth, a mosaic of properties owned by kings, corporations, and secretive billionaires. The competition for a piece of London is the fiercest on earth. So let's explore the 9 other colossal landowners who have staked their claim to the city's soul. We will uncover the secrets of ancient guilds, powerful public bodies, and foreign states who have poured fortunes into London's earth. Only after we understand the sheer power of these other players will we return to the Grosvenors and reveal the full, astonishing story of how one family came to own the heart of an empire, and why their ancient fortune is unlike anything else in the world. Long before London had skyscrapers and foreign embassies, its commerce was controlled by a network of powerful and secretive organizations known as the livery companies. These were the original guilds for tradesmen, the mercers, grocers, drapers, and fishmongers, some tracing their origins back to the 12th century. They controlled who could practice a trade, set quality standards, and looked after their members. To cement their power, they began acquiring property within the ancient walls of the City of London, the Square Mile. And they never, ever sold it. Today, there are over 110 livery companies, and while they no longer control their trades, they have evolved into immense charitable and educational institutions, all funded by one of the most astonishing property portfolios in the world. These ancient companies own their magnificent halls, many of which have stood on the same spot for over 700 years, but their holdings extend far beyond that. They own prime office buildings, retail spaces, and residential properties scattered across the most valuable real estate in the financial district. This is not wealth that was created overnight. It was accumulated over centuries, deed by deed, inheritance by inheritance. The Goldsmiths Company, for example, is still responsible for the testing of precious metals in the UK, a practice known as hallmarking, which it has done for 700 years from its hall in the city. The income from their vast property portfolio funds this work and their extensive charitable activities. This is the definition of old money. It's a form of ownership so patient and long-term that it operates on a different time scale to the rest of the market. They are not developers looking to flip a property. They are custodians of a legacy, quietly collecting rent from land they acquired before the Tudors came to power, a silent but immensely powerful force within London's financial heart. Every day, millions of Londoners swipe their cards and travel on the city's iconic tube, bus, and train network. But what most of them don't realize is that the organization taking their fare is also one of the city's largest and most important landlords. Transport for London, or TfL, isn't just a transport authority. It's a sprawling property developer sitting on a gold mine of 5,500 acres of land. This portfolio is a direct consequence of its history. As the underground network was built and expanded over 150 years, TfL and its predecessors had to buy up huge amounts of land, not just for the tunnels and tracks, but for the stations, depots, and access points above ground. The result is a patchwork of incredibly valuable sites, often in prime locations, right on top of the city's busiest transport hubs. For years, much of this land was underutilized. Think of old depots, railway arches, and car parks. But now, facing pressure on its transport revenues, TfL has woken up to the immense potential of its property empire. Through its commercial property company, Places for London, it has embarked on a massive development program. It is building thousands of new homes, with a significant portion dedicated to affordable housing, directly addressing one of London's most critical needs. It is creating new office spaces, retail hubs, and public squares, all on its own land. This gives TfL a unique power. It can shape entire neighborhoods. A decision to build above a station like Southwark or Paddington can create a new commercial center and thousands of jobs. They are transforming forgotten railway arches into thriving marketplaces and restaurants. While other developers have to navigate London's complex and expensive land market, TfL already owns the land. They are leveraging their historic footprint to build the future of the city, making them not just a service provider, but a key architect of London's growth and urban landscape. There is the City of London, the vast metropolis of 9 million people. And then there is the City of London, the ancient square mile at its heart. This tiny 1 square mile area is the UK's financial centre, and it is governed by a unique and ancient body called the City of London Corporation. It is not a borough. It is a legal entity that predates Parliament itself, with its own Lord Mayor, its own police force, and its own vast property portfolio. The corporation is one of London's most powerful and least understood landlords. It owns not just historic landmarks like the Guildhall and Tower Bridge, but also a huge portfolio of modern commercial office space, which it manages as a strategic investment fund called the City's Cash. This fund, built up over centuries, gives the corporation a level of financial independence that is unheard of for a local authority. The rental income from its properties helps to pay for the services it provides. But its ownership goes far beyond the square mile. Through another fund, the Bridge House Estates, which was originally established to maintain London Bridge in medieval times, it now owns numerous other properties, including the iconic Borough Market. Even more surprisingly, the corporation is one of London's biggest guardians of green space. It owns and manages over 11,000 acres of parks and forests in and around London, including Hampstead Heath and Epping Forest, preserving vital green lungs for the capital. The City of London Corporation represents a bizarre and powerful fusion of ancient tradition, civic duty, and modern commercial savvy. It is a landlord that acts like a government, a council that acts like a corporation, and a custodian of both billion-dollar skyscrapers and ancient woodlands. Its influence is woven into the very fabric of London's governance and geography. In the 1980s, London's docklands were a wasteland of derelict warehouses and forgotten waterways. Today, the area is Canary Wharf, a second financial center to rival the old City of London, a forest of steel and glass skyscrapers, housing the world's biggest banks and corporations. This staggering transformation was the vision of one company. the Canary Wharf Group. They didn't just build an office block, they built an entire city within a city, and in doing so became one of London's most dominant landlords. Initially a Canadian-led project, the ownership has since evolved, and for many years it has been controlled by a partnership between Brookfield Property Partners and the Qatar Investment Authority. The group's control over its domain is almost absolute. They don't just own the office towers, they own and manage the shopping malls beneath them, the beautifully manicured parks and public spaces, the restaurants, the bars, and even the extensive public art collection. When you are in Canary Wharf, you are in their world. They have their own private security force and a team of cleaners who keep the estate immaculately maintained. This level of control allows them to create a hyper-efficient, clean, and safe environment that is highly attractive to their corporate tenants, like JP Morgan, HSBC, and Barclays. In recent years, as the nature of work has changed, the Canary Wharf Group has been forced to evolve. They are now transforming the area from a pure financial district into a vibrant 24/7 neighborhood, building thousands of residential apartments, schools, and healthcare facilities on the land they control. Their story is a testament to the power of a single, focused vision to create a new piece of a city from scratch. They are not old money. They are the ultimate modern developers who took a forgotten part of London and turned it into one of the most powerful commercial property empires on the planet. The River Thames has always been the artery of London's wealth, and those who control its banks wield immense power. For decades, one of the biggest players along the river has been a company based not in London, but thousands of miles away in Hong Kong. CK Hutchison Holdings, the flagship company of the family of billionaire Li Ka-shing, is a global conglomerate with interests in ports, retail, and infrastructure. In London, they are a property powerhouse, known for taking on some of the city's largest and most complex regeneration projects, particularly along the river. Their influence can be seen most dramatically in places like Chelsea Waterfront and, most significantly, Convoy's Wharf in Deptford. Convoy's Wharf is a site of huge historical importance. It was originally King Henry VIII's Royal Dockyard, where the great ships of the English fleet were built. For years it lay derelict, a 40-acre brownfield site on a prime stretch of the river. CK Hutchison bought the site and is now in the process of a multi-billion-pound development that will create thousands of new homes, shops, and public spaces, completely transforming this part of southeast London. This is their strategy. They acquire vast, challenging, post-industrial sites that other developers might shy away from, and they have the deep pockets and the long-term vision to see the projects through. Their presence highlights the increasingly global nature of London property ownership. The decisions that shape the future of a historic London neighborhood are being made in a boardroom in Hong Kong. They are patient capitalists deploying immense financial resources to reshape the city's waterfront, a testament to how international capital now flows into London, forever changing its skyline. Of all the foreign powers that have invested in London, none have done so with the sheer breathtaking ambition of the state of Qatar. Through its sovereign wealth fund, the Qatar Investment Authority, this tiny, gas-rich Gulf nation has spent the last 2 decades on a buying spree that has left onlookers astounded. They haven't just bought buildings, they have bought the very symbols of London itself. If an asset is iconic, world-famous, and defines the London skyline, there's a good chance Qatar owns a piece of it. Their portfolio reads like a monopoly board of London's greatest hits. They own the Shard, Western Europe's tallest skyscraper. They own the legendary department store, Harrods. They co-own Canary Wharf. They own the Olympic Village. They own luxury hotels like the Savoy and Claridge's. Through their property arm, Qatari Deer, they are redeveloping the former Chelsea Barracks into one of the most exclusive residential addresses in the world. Their acquisitions in the ultra-prime district of Mayfair are so extensive that the area is sometimes nicknamed Little Doha. This isn't just a financial investment, it's a statement of soft power. By owning these trophy assets, Qatar embeds itself into the cultural and economic fabric of the city. Their strategy is to buy the best of the best, assets that are so unique and prestigious that they are almost guaranteed to hold their value. For a time, it felt like nothing was off limits. They have become one of the most powerful and visible players in the London property market, a modern force of petrodollar wealth that has bought a level of influence that is impossible to ignore. Many tourists who flock to Regent Street for a day of shopping would be surprised to learn that nearly the entire street, every shop, office, and apartment belongs not to the king personally, but to an ancient and unique entity known as the Crown Estate. This is one of the most valuable and prestigious property portfolios on Earth, and its profits go not to the royal family, but to the nation's treasury. The Crown Estate is a peculiar institution. It is not government property, and it is not the monarch's private property. It is an independent commercial business, and the king is essentially its beneficiary in name only. Its origins lie in the lands once held by the monarchy, which in 1760, King George III surrendered to Parliament in exchange for a fixed annual income, which today is known as the sovereign grant. The result is a property empire that owns a huge chunk of central London. Beyond Regent Street, its holdings include almost half of the buildings in the exclusive district of St. James's, home to gentlemen's clubs, art galleries, and hedge funds. They own prime retail parks and shopping centers across the country. But their ownership extends to more unusual assets too. The Crown Estate owns virtually the entire seabed around the UK, out to 12 nautical miles. This means that any company wanting to build an offshore wind farm, a cornerstone of the UK's green energy future, has to lease the seabed from them. This makes the Crown Estate a pivotal player in the country's transition to renewable energy. It is a landlord on a truly national scale, a multi-billion-pound portfolio of prime real estate and critical natural resources whose purpose is to generate revenue for the British public. It is a legacy of monarchy, now serving the state, and a silent, immensely powerful owner of some of the most valuable territory in the country. While corporations and foreign states grab the headlines, the single biggest landowner in London, and indeed the entire UK, is often overlooked: the government itself. The portfolio of land and property owned by the central government, its various departments, and its agencies is simply colossal. It is a sprawling and incredibly diverse collection of assets that are essential to the running of the state. Think of the grand ministries of Whitehall, the Houses of Parliament, and the Royal Courts of Justice. Think of every hospital, every state school, every prison, and every military barracks. This is the operational estate of the nation, and its footprint in London is immense. But beyond these operational buildings, the government is also a major commercial landowner and developer. Through its agency, Homes England, it is one of the country's most important house builders, acquiring and preparing public land for the development of new communities. The Ministry of Defence owns a vast training estate, some of which falls within Greater London's boundaries. Network Rail, a government body, owns not just the tracks and major stations like Waterloo and Victoria, but also the thousands of miles of land running alongside the railways, much of it ripe for development. This ownership gives the government immense power to shape the city. A decision to sell off a former hospital site can create a new residential quarter. The choice to redevelop land around a major station can create a new business hub. Unlike private landlords, the government has a dual mandate. It must manage its property efficiently for the taxpayer, but it also has a duty to use its land for the public good. It is the ultimate landlord, the owner of the very infrastructure of the nation, with a portfolio so vast and varied that it touches the life of every single Londoner. And so we come back to that moment of stunned silence in the sheikh's penthouse. Back to the family whose wealth is not measured in the fleeting numbers of the stock market, but in the very soil of London itself. The Grosvenor family, headed by the young Duke of Westminster, are not just the richest aristocrats in Britain. They are the owners of an urban empire so valuable it defies easy calculation. Their story in London began not with a conquest or a corporate raid, but with a wedding in 1677. Sir Thomas Grosvenor, a baronet from an old family in Cheshire, married a 12-year-old heiress named Mary Davies. With her, she brought a dowry. It was not a chest of gold or jewels. It was 500 acres of swamp, pasture, and marshland to the west of the City of London. At the time, it was practically worthless. Today, that land is called Mayfair and Belgravia. What the Grosvenors did next is the secret to their unimaginable wealth. They never sold. As London expanded westward, they didn't cash out and sell their land to developers. They leased it. They would grant a developer a lease, typically for 99 years, to build a house or a commercial building. The developer would pay the construction costs, and the Grosvenors would collect a ground rent every year. And at the end of the 99 years, the land and the building on it would revert back to the family's ownership, free and clear. They have been repeating this process for over 300 years. This strategy of patient generational stewardship means they have retained almost complete ownership of their original 300 acres in central London, 100 acres of Mayfair, and 200 acres of Belgravia. To understand the scale of this, you have to walk through it. Eaton Square, where former prime ministers and global billionaires live in houses worth tens of millions, they own it. Mount Street, with its flagship luxury boutiques from Balenciaga to Christian Dior, they own it. Grosvenor Square, home to embassies and five-star hotels, they own it. They are, quite literally, the ground landlord for an entire swathe of the most expensive real estate on earth. Their wealth is not liquid. It's not a number on a screen. It is tangible, physical, and permanent. This is what stunned the Arab sheikh. He was a master of new money, wealth created in a lifetime from oil. But he was confronting old money in its purest form, wealth accumulated over 12 generations, so deeply rooted that it is part of the landscape. The Grosvenors don't need to sell because their rental income is colossal, estimated at well over £100 million a year. They don't operate like a normal company driven by quarterly results. They plan in terms of centuries. They are not just property owners, they are curators of a city, a private dynasty that has shaped the heart of London more than any king or government, a silent, invisible empire hiding in plain sight. A huge thank you to everyone who watched this video to the end. Your support, a like and a subscription, is very important to us, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you can always stay up to date and never miss our new videos.